A couple of weeks ago, I played a big Indian wedding in Nashville. Around 500 guests, beautiful venue, full glam event. Totally normal day for us, right? I was scheduled to play for cocktail hour and then guest seating in the main room. So I showed up about 2 hours early like I always do, ready to get set up and sound check. But when I arrived, no planner, no DJ, no idea where anything was happening. Luckily, I tracked down someone from the catering team who pointed me to the cocktail space. I found the speakers tucked into a corner in this giant room, which was definitely not going to cut it. So I texted the DJ. It turns out he wasn't coming back until I was supposed to start playing. So I moved what I could, got everything laid out, and used the downtime to get into my gown, glam up, and film some content. By the time the DJ and his team showed up, guests were already trickling in. They rushed to move the speaker. I plugged in and started playing. That first song, that was the sound check. Not ideal, but it worked. And that's why I always say, hope for the best, but prepare for the chaos. Because sometimes it's the glam violinist versus the wedding timeline, and we still have to sparkle. Let's just say, it's all about how you handle those first moments. And the moral of the story, things change, timelines shift. And if you don't have your act together before the first guest arrives, you're gonna be playing catch up all night.
Are you a classically trained violinist dreaming of stepping out of the orchestra and into the spotlight, but maybe the world of solo gigs feels intimidating? You're not alone. Welcome to The Glam Violinist, the podcast that empowers classically trained musicians to build thriving careers as sought-after entertainers. I'm your host, Celeste V, and each week we'll break down the secrets to getting the gigs you've been dreaming of. Get ready to unleash your inner rock star and turn your passion into a paycheck. Let's get glamorous.
Hey y'all, it's Celeste V, and today I'm doing something a little different. I have been wanting to turn this into a video series, sort of, instead of just audio, because sometimes it's nice to have something to watch, and I have been putting it off because it's intimidating. Let's be real, I don't sit around in full glam. There's sirens going by, don't you love it? It's not going to be perfect, but I hope that you enjoy this if you're watching this. If not, don't worry about it. Listen along. And so here we go. Today we're talking about gig day. Not the performance itself, because we've covered a lot of that in other episodes, and we'll get to more of that in future episodes as well. But today is all about the stuff that happens before the first note, like before the first guest arrives. And honestly, before you even change into your glam attire, if you do it my way, but you can do it your way. This is the part that no one sees, but it's everything. We're going to talk about what to pack, when to arrive, how to set up and sound check and confirm timelines, make sure you're calm, ready, and picture perfect when it's time to perform. If you've ever walked into a venue with your violin in one hand, a garment bag in the other, pulling a giant cart full of gear, and ended up wandering aimlessly trying to find the event space, only to discover it's actually in a completely different building across the complex, you are absolutely in the right place. This episode is for you. I'm sharing exactly what I do and what I teach to all the violinists on my team at Violin Event Entertainment to make sure gig day runs smoothly as possible and actually feels as glamorous as it looks. So let's go. First, you're gonna pack like a pro. Let's start with what happens before you even leave the house. That's packing up. One of the best ways to avoid stress on gig day is to prep and pack your gear meticulously. I know. Sometimes we don't even have time to catch our breath before we're heading out to the next gig, but making sure everything is packed and charged and ready to go is the very first step to a smooth gig. This is especially true if you've unpacked any part of your gig bag for any reason since your last gig. I have totally left cables, power strips, you name it, because I use them in my studio and then I didn't repack carefully enough. Now, I'm not actually going to read a long packing list here, that would be silly, but I did make a downloadable checklist with everything that I recommend. You can grab that in the show notes or DM me on Instagram and I'll send it your way. But just so you know what's on there, it covers your gear, of course, violin, your wireless, laptop, iPad, whatever you're using to play your tracks, and all your cables, adapters, chargers, backups for those things, extra batteries, content gear like a tripod or a gimbal, and then your personal kit. Big bottle of water, makeup for touch-ups if you wear makeup, business cards, a backup pair of shoes if you're wearing heels. And here's one of my biggest tips. I personally recommend packing in a way that lets you set up first, then change later. Especially if your dress is sequined or fitted, getting in and out of your car and lugging around gear puts a lot of wear and tear on those really expensive outfits. You don't want to be hauling cables in them. And yes, I've totally been there crawling under the DJ table in full glam, trying not to sweat through my foundation. I get it. But when avoidable, I try to avoid it. All right, next, when you actually arrive, be sure to arrive early and scout out the place. Here's the rule I give to everyone on my team. Be parked and walking into the venue at least an hour and a half before your performance begins. That doesn't mean pulling into the parking lot at that time. That means you're inside the venue, gear in hand, and ready to start setup. Now, depending on the venue, getting to your performance area can be an adventure. You might have to drop your gear, go park 10 minutes away, and hoof it back on foot in the rain. Or you might be directed to a loading dock behind the building where you have to check in with security like you're applying for a government clearance badge. Sometimes the only route to the ballroom is a winding walk through the kitchen corridor past racks of salad bowls and industrial dishwashers and down service hallways that guests never even know exist. Now, if you're newer to this adventure, the violin performance, this might all sound a little dramatic, but I promise you these are real scenarios I've dealt with hundreds of times, and there's rarely any warning from the planner or the client, unfortunately. You just have to build in time for it because once it happens, it's happening. That's why I always recommend arriving at least 90 minutes before go time. 2 hours or more if it's a large venue or a complicated load-in. All right, now coordinate with your point of contact. Once you're inside, here's what I recommend. First, introduce yourself to the coordinator or whoever is running the show. You should have asked your client ahead of time who will be your point of contact when you arrive. It might be an event planner or a venue coordinator or Uncle Sal with a Bluetooth headset, as I mentioned in a previous episode. Whoever it is, find them first and introduce yourself. Now, when you meet the planner, don't just say a quick hello and disappear. Have a conversation at their earliest convenience. Confirm where you're going to be setting up and go over the timeline down to the last detail. You would be shocked how many times things have changed since the last time I talked to the client. I once walked into a reception where I thought I was starting dinner at 9:30, only to find out that the couple had moved everything up and now dinner was taking place at 8:45 before all the other performances. In situations like this, it's important to be realistic. So look back at your contract. Remember that legally that's all you're expected to do. But if it's possible, try your best to be a team player. The planner, the couple, and all the other vendors are going to be far more likely to want to work with you again if you're willing to be a little flexible within reason. Now, while you're talking with the planner, double check what time doors are opening, when you're expected to play, if there are any cues, and who will be giving them. Confirm if you'll be moving locations during the event and when that should happen. Ask if there's anyone available to help you move your gear when that time comes. It's certainly not expected, and I usually end up doing it alone, to be honest. But if someone from the planner or DJ team is available to help, it's worth asking. Also, and this is key, make sure there's someone who will stay in touch with you throughout the night. You're on call during the event, even if you have a long break between sets. So find out who your point of contact is and let them know where you're going to be during those breaks. That way, if plans shift or they need you earlier than expected, they know exactly where to find you. Now, let's talk about power. And this is a big one. Sometimes the planner has already chosen a performance spot for you, and that's great in theory, but it doesn't always work in practice. There might not be power nearby, or maybe there is power, but it's on the opposite side of the room from where your laptop or your speakers need to be. This is one of those moments where you need to gently and professionally speak up. You can absolutely say something like, I totally see the vision, but just so you know, I need to be near power so I can control the tracks from my laptop. I'm sort of DJing and performing at the same time, so I need a home base for my setup. Most planners just don't realize this, and that's not their fault. They probably haven't ever worked with someone like you before, so they can't really picture what it looks like, much less reason through the logistics of how it works. So your job is to help them understand that the spot they picked might look pretty, but if you don't have power or you're stuck way off in a corner, it's not going to create the smooth, immersive experience that the client is expecting. 9 times out of 10, they're totally willing to adjust once you explain why it matters. Now it's time for setup and sound check. If you're providing your own speaker, this is when you're going to get it in place, hook everything up, and do a quick sound check. That's the easy part. Now, if the DJ is providing sound, find them or someone from their team if possible. My contract requires that a member of the DJ team be present during setup and sound check specifically for this reason. You should not be troubleshooting their gear alone. However, they may or may not be there in spite of what your contract says. Now, most of you know I play for a lot of South Asian weddings. This means that the DJ and his team have been working since 7 a.m. setting up for the barat outside in the heat, and then another 2.5-hour wedding ceremony inside. Then they have to flip the room, set up everything for the reception, and then put out a speaker and a mixer for me or my team out in the lobby for cocktail hour. Around 3 p.m., they finally get to go back to their rooms to shower and get ready for another marathon evening. Essentially, their only break is when I'm setting up for cocktail hour. So I totally get it if they're not there when I arrive. Just send them a polite text or phone call and ask them to get there as soon as they can, ideally before you begin playing, so they can troubleshoot and help make sure that everything is running the way that it's supposed to. Now, once you've connected, test your tracks, make sure everything sounds clean. If the speaker and mixer are set up in a spot that isn't ideal, like if it's shoved off to the side, don't be afraid to ask if it can be moved. Just because the gear is already in place doesn't mean that's where it should stay. You're creating a performance, not a background noise, and that means the setup should support visibility, connection, and great sound. Now, once you're done with sound check, do a quick cleanup of your area and make sure it looks tidy and professional. Coil your cables, tuck away your cases. If there's no way to hide your things under your table or right behind it, find a closet or a prep area nearby where you can stash all of your larger gear bags. You don't want guests or planners to remember that you played nicely, but you looked sloppy. Details like this really do make a strong impression, for good or for bad. Okay, it's time to get glam and capture some content. Do a quick touch-up of your makeup, hair, whatever, and change clothes. Your hair and your makeup should already be done before arrival, so this part is just about adding some polish and changing into your performance outfit. If the client has a room for you, great. If not, just discreetly slip into the nearest restroom and do a quick change in the largest stall you can find. Once you're dressed and ready, do one last check. Are your tracks loaded? Wireless on? Tripod ready? Everything's playing okay even without Wi-Fi? Cool. Time to shine. Now let's talk about content. Before guests arrive is one of the best windows you have to capture great content, especially if the room is fully set but still empty. Set up your tripod or hand your phone to somebody nearby. Record yourself playing 30 to 60 seconds of your song of the day. Listen to some old episodes for that. This is gold for reels, portfolio updates, and for client demos. Even if you're just doing it on your phone, get as much clean audio and flattering footage as you can. While you're at it, grab a few B-roll clips of the room, the florals, the cake, the stage, even the ceiling if it's dramatic. Just 3 to 5 second clips that you can layer into your videos later. And don't forget to get a few still shots, especially of you. If you can, position your tripod so you're centered on the dance floor with the stage or the room behind you, and take a few close-up and a few full-body photos. Get them before you're surrounded by guests and drinks and chaos. I promise you'll thank yourself later. All right, here's the final part. Your gear is set, Your outfit is on, you've done your sound check, filmed your content, tucked all of your gear and your bags out of sight. Now what? Now you get in the zone. This is the window right before guests start arriving. Think of it as one of the most important moments of the entire gig day. You've done the heavy lifting. Now it's about energy. Take a minute to breathe. Stand in your performance space, not hunched over your laptop, but tall, centered, and ready. Picture the moment that guests walk in. Picture their faces when they hear the music. Imagine them smiling, singing along, pulling out their phones to film you. Let yourself feel proud of what you're about to do. I know this sounds a little woo-woo, but that energy matters. When you're calm, prepared, and fully present, people feel that, and it really sets the tone for the entire event. And if something goes wrong, if the timeline changes, or the planner forgets to give you your cue, or the DJ unplugs your laptop mid-song, stay graceful. That's part of being a glam violinist too. Grace under pressure is part of the brand. So when you see the planner giving you the nod, or the doors open and guests start to trickle in, take a breath, smile, and go create some magic. Phew, we made it through the gig before the gig. Let's do a quick recap of your pre-performance checklist. Number 1, pack smart. Triple check your gear, accessories, and your backup, essentials. Make sure you have spare batteries. Number 2, arrive early, like really early, and give yourself buffer time for parking, loading in, and getting your bearings. Number 3, scout it out and connect. Find your point of contact, confirm all the details, make sure power and logistics actually make sense for what you're doing. Number 4, sound check. Run your test track, check your levels, and make sure everything sounds spot on. Number 5, glam up. Do a quick change, touch up your makeup if you need to, and then get that content before the guests arrive. Number 6, and the last step, is to get in the zone. This is your moment. Be calm, be ready, and let your presence and your vibe set the tone for an amazing evening. Remember, it's not just about showing up and playing a few pretty songs. It's about being prepared, being flexible, and creating an experience for your guests from the very first second. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If this episode helped you, please share it with another musician who could use a little gig day pep talk. And don't forget to grab that downloadable packing checklist if you want. It's in the show notes. Or you can DM me at the Celeste V, and I'll send it your way. Until next time, this is Celeste reminding you to stay prepared, stay flexible, and of course, stay glamorous.